Welcome to episode 8. We're drawing a fantasy map. We're taking a map from nothing to everything. And my name is Wes Jones, and I hope you've enjoyed the journey so far. Today, we're going to look at drawing some of the details. And what do I mean by that exactly? I mean those really fine lines. Things like grasses or shadows under the trees that are line work. In this case, I'm going to do some swamps as well. And maybe some effects around the coast, not the coastal effect, but some on the land side of it. And then we'll see where we go from there. Let's turn this off. Make a new layer. I'm going to name this one Details. It's always a good habit to name your layers. I do that half consistently. When I'm doing this, I've already established in earlier videos that 8 pixels is about as thin as I'm going to make the line work. So I'm going to do the details at 8 pixels. The ones I'm talking about, I think I'm going to draw around the coast on the inside, on the land. I think that will look good. Areas that are in the open. I believe I want to do something like that. Draw some grasses in there. It just adds a little bit more interest to the map. Get rid of some of those for right now. Under the trees, maybe some lines like this to make them stand out. Now, remember the hills? They have the shadows from this side. I might, on the trees, that actually might look alright. Just seeing that right now, just add a few lines like that. This is going to take a little bit of time. What I'm going to do is I'll zoom through this very quickly, become the fastest drawer in the planet again, talk through what I'm doing. But those are the main things. The only other thing down here is I need to decide where the swampland is, and I've got to remove some of these trees. And I am at the point. I have to decide now where the ice is. So, big decision. Okay, I think I'm going to do a couple lines and just testing it out. Something like this. This doesn't have to be the final line work. Do I want to block off that? Maybe. That might be good enough for now. I know that when I get further than a certain spot on this map, I don't really have to do as much grass detail and things like that. Okay, so here we go. Alright, here we go. Sketched in the ice one more time and started with these rings around the land side of the coast. I thought this did a nice job, and I've done this technique before. Just helps the land stand a little bit above the water. When I draw these, you can see I don't do it in one continuous ring. I break it up into different chunks so that I actually keep my line work consistent. I make sure I draw this at the same speed so that, again, my line work is consistent. I like drawing these. I find that it does a pretty good job of helping that contrast. Again, having the land stand a little bit above the water so it looks more important. This took approximately half an hour, 35 minutes to draw all these. So it's not fast, but it's not super slow, but you know, it does take time. Like everything in this process, it takes time. Make sure I get all the islands. At first, I wasn't sure if I was going to do these northern ones, but it's not too long. It doesn't take too long to draw these lines, so I did that. You can see I'm working my way around. Sometimes when you go around trees, I got to decide what I'm going to do there. Or do I leave it open? And I generally just had the tree go through it. So I left it kind of open there, the line work. And just nearly finished up. I think I just had the southern continent left at this point. Along the river, wasn't sure what to do. Decided to have it fade down through the river, if that makes sense. These last little islands, sometimes you forget where you are on the map actually if you're quite zoomed in. And one thing I'll note is don't be too zoomed in. You don't want to do work that you aren't going to see with, if you print this off at 8.5 by 11. Next is the grass. Did that. I try to make the grass consistent, but the clumping, I try to do, 1, 3, 4 strokes so that it looks like it's all grass, but there's a little bit of variation within it. And I was pretty conscious of where that ice was at the top because this process took a while as well. I would say it was at least 25 minutes to draw this. And so on the north side of those mountains, I didn't draw the grass clumpings because I'm probably going to do something with ice and snow up there. There's no point in adding those. And if I need to, I can just add those after. I didn't want to have to erase it and do extra work because it does take a fair amount of time to do all this. And these little lines don't look like they're that important, but they really are, and they do add a lot to the map. This is where I took out the forest and I added in that swampland. I talked about that in the river video, how because this is running north, this river, and the way ice and things like that work in the melting, this area actually has a pretty good potential to be a swamp area in real life. It just adds a little bit of variation to the map. If you can add a swamp in there and here, I like it, varying it up. This part took a little while. I actually prefer drawing those smaller islands with the grass in these big areas. Next, I went in and did the highlights, or actually rather the shadows on the trees. Doing the shadows on the same side as the mountain and drawing a little line underneath the trees. Just helps them stand out a little bit. I've noticed along the way, this video's going pretty quickly, but occasionally I missed a trunk. It's not a big deal, but I'll add it in here. Again, this doesn't look like much, but it really does add a lot to the map. I might add in some trees afterwards. All depends. That's something that's very subtle and easy to do. Though it gets to a point where you have to decide, okay, that's it. Next thing, I'm adding all this color. Okay, no more. I'm pretty much there with this, but the trees, like I said, I might add 1 or 2 in. I like drawing trees like this. And you still get the sense that it's a forest. And that was almost it. Yeah, there it is. So that was a quick blast through. In the next video, I will be drawing the ice. I'm pretty excited about this. I've somewhat been avoiding making decisions about it, and that's partly because I'm not sure, or I wasn't sure, maybe I'm still not 100% sure what technique I'm going to use to draw it, but I'm starting to get some ideas, and I'm excited to do that part of the map. Of course, you can check out my book. I have a book on fantasy mapping. If you're interested in learning many more techniques, you can find those in the book, and I have a website, fantasymapping.com. Alright, we're about midway through the journey from taking this map from nothing to everything. See you soon.